welcome to today's Battle Mech review. Today we're going to be looking at another one of those converted mechs from the clans with the Conjurer. It would technically be called the Wolverine IIC if the word Wolverine was not completely banned in clan language. It's an odd one. I had to use the Sea Fox intro on this one because nobody really claims the design, at least originally. Not that I've been able to find in any of the sources that I have access to. The Conjurer is a very decent machine and one that you will see fairly often, and it's gotten a little bit more common recently as well. It was available to a lot of people before some of the other 2C configurations. So let's get into it. Our friends in the 275 Mafia really have a good showing in the Clan Tomon, even though they're not using that 275 engine anymore. The Griffin 2C, the Shadowhawk 2C, and the Conjurer have all been used for an extensive amount of time in second-line roles, and even in primary roles in some cases, especially when a clan or a Tomon is running a little bit low on equipment. None of these mechs are problematic in any way. They're actually quite superior to, well, the most Intersphere machines, obviously, but also superior to some Omni mechs, at least some configuration of Omni mechs, especially at the price point where you can get all three of these medium mechs. With the abjuration of Clan Wolverine, of course, at the start of clan history, the very concept of the word Wolverine was taken out of the clan language in a bit of a silly way, so the Wolverine 2C really became the Conjurer. I'm not sure what they call actual Wolverines, or if they've just mothballed every single Wolverines they have. There's no modern clan version of the original Wolverine either, while there's clan versions of the Griffin and clan version of the Shadowhawk. The Conjurer is really a great mid-range battle mech in the low-cost category. Well, low-cost, of course. There's a bunch of high-tech equipment on there anyways, and if you're in Intersphere space and you have no access to clan equipment, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to keep it running. But it does fit the garrison second-line machine paradigm that the clans really love to have with those 2C machines. It's also one of those things where you get probably some of the best bang for your buck if you're building a unit. As I was saying, nobody really takes responsibility for building the darn thing. Nobody wants the credit for being the clan that designed the Wolverine 2C, but all we really know is that it really dates from the start of the clan era in 28-29. Not only that, it's also a mech that just about everybody is using in significant amounts. Not massive amounts for some people, but most clans are going to have a decent number of Conjurers in those second-line Solama garrison units. The Conjurer is 5 tons lighter than your standard Wolverine at 50 tons. One of the other advantages in it is that it uses a very common and standard Fusion 300 engine, which is copied off the Vlar, which is used in things like the Marauder or the Atlas, which are a lot heavier, but it's still the exact same engine, so that's a part that's actually easy to source if you have a Conjurer and you need to keep it running. You get a set of jump jets, so you can jump 180 meters, so you have a little bit more mobility than your classic Wolverine. To save on weight, you do have an endo steel chassis, which is very common for clan machines, and it's protected by 8.5 tons of ferrofibrous alloy, which means that for a 50-ton mech, it's really well protected. It is a little bit limited by having only 10 double heat sinks, which means it can run hot fairly quickly if you're not careful. The base Conjurer uses a large pulse laser in a gun mount, kind of similar to the original Wolverine, while the shoulders have each a pair of weapon with a pair of ER medium lasers on one side and a pair of Streak 2-tube SRMs on the other. There weren't any new versions and marks of the Conjurer for quite some time because people probably didn't want to iterate on a machine that they didn't like as much as they wanted. What happened, though, was that after one of the many Ghost Bear Combine War, the allies of the Inner Sphere and the Combine at the time, the Clan Nova Cat, needed to rebuild their Tomon. It's pretty hard to rebuild when you have no factories and you don't really have anybody that really wants to help, and to be quite honest, nobody on both sides of the fence wanted to help them. Combine let the Nova Cat live in their territory, but that's about it. They weren't very kind to them at any point in time, at least not more than usual. One thing that they had, though, and that nobody had a patent trademark on, was the Conjurer, and they started to produce them again, designing a couple of new marks with the help of our friends in Clan Diamond Shark and in the future Clan Sea Fox. To be quite honest, the Conjurer Mark II is a completely different beast from the original Conjurer. It came out in 3062 and uses a 350 XL engine to go up the speed of about 120 kilometers per hour and can jump up to 210 meters using 7 jump jets. For weapons, you do have a 9-tube advanced tactical missile launcher in the arm. In this case, they chop off the hand. Not always a thing that I enjoy. I do enjoy to be able to have both hands to help out loading a dropship or punching people if required. But you do get 3 tons of ammo to feed the missile launcher, so 1 ton of each of the specialty ATM. This is backed up by a pair of targeting computer guided medium pulse lasers, so you get extensively accurate weapons on the other arm. In 3064, with the introduction of heavy lasers, we came out with the Tastebed Conjurer Mark III. The primary weapon on this is a standard ER large laser, so it's not an heavy laser at that point, but this is backed up by 2 heavy medium lasers. All this is linked on a targeting computer to compensate for the loss of accuracy the heavy lasers generally have. Is it a very bad setup? I don't think so. Honestly, here you're going to have decent accuracy and you're going to have a decent amount of punch, but you are going to run fairly hot with those heavy medium lasers. The next design pushes this to its limit in 3065. The Mark IV uses an XL engine rather than a standard, still a common enough one. It's an XL 300, once again based off the VLAR, so it's easy enough to source, but it's far more expensive. And this is used to save on weight to add, at first, 4 additional double heat sinks. For main weapons, you get a very strong short-range punch with 4 heavy medium lasers and 2 6-tube Streak SRM, which is going to mean that you're going to be able to take out tanks and other vehicles extensively well with this. For backup, I mean, you've got a medium pulse laser. I mean, why not just put 2 other heavy medium lasers at this point? Might be a space thing. I'd have to check again. And you get a pair of light machine guns to take care of infantry. All our view direct fire weapons are also tied to a targeting computer to improve on their accuracy. You're going to see some models with improved EV medium lasers, obviously, nowadays. It really depends on what is available at the time. It does make it a very strong skirmisher / cavalry mech, but you lose a lot on that range ability, so you have to be a little bit more careful while fighting with this particular machine. And people might be able to take advantage of your short range if they've got more advanced clan weapons to deal with. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got the Mark V, which is supposed to be a missile platform for all-range interception. The main weapon are a pair of 6-tube ATM, each with 1 ton of ammo, so you don't have enough ammo to have 1 of each specialty round. For backups, you have a pair of ER medium lasers, and I'm really not impressed with this particular design because it doesn't do anything well enough to warrant its existence in a way. There's 2 new models of the Conjurer that started popping up recently, with the Conjurer Mark VII being a fairly straightforward refit of the design that actually dates from 2836, but that we've seen as a standard production unit, let's say more recently. It's an extensively simple design. You just take out the Streak 2-tube SRMs on that shoulder and replace them with a pair of LRM5s. You get better long-range support on there, a little bit less accuracy, but it's quite functional, I would say, and can be used in a variety of situations. Team Arc 8 is a brand new design, however, and it was built to buff up their Toman as quickly as possible. It uses a smaller 250XL engine and fewer jump jet, but adds a mask to the entire musculature, so you're able to get bursts of speed that are higher than the regular Conjurer speed for short periods of time. For weapons, it also takes a gun from another mech, the Shockwave, and puts it in that gun mount. It's a rotary AC5, so that's a lot of lead being shot up in the air. And this is backed by a 6-tube Streak SRM and a pair of medium pulse lasers. This is a pretty decent machine. I've had to deal with it a couple of times already. It's fairly easy to repair as well. 250XL, pretty common as well as an engine. It's not something that you're going to have a hard time to source. The hardest thing on there is that mask, because those are always finicky to play with and they cause damage to the legs if you keep using them too long. The rotary AC5 being sourced off the Shockwave means that it's a standard enough part that you're able to get it just about everywhere nowadays, and the other weapons are easy enough to source and use. There is a very weird side design of the Conjurer, which we call the LCAT, which started its life as the Conjurer Mark VI in 3063. Uses a completely different chassis, and but has similar performance, and your original LCAT Conjurer used a 300XL engine. It also uses far more double heat sinks with 19 on the base model, and that's because it has an heavy energy weapon load with 3 ER medium lasers, an ER medium pulse laser, and an ER PPC for sniping. For even more long-range support, you have a 10-rack LRM on top of it. This thing is somewhat rare. You're going to see a few regular body Conjurers having this setup as well, running around. I do think it's a decent enough design. Clan Novacat did iterate on this particular design, and they sold the actual design to Clan Jade Falcon, who officially designated it the LCAT. This brand new LCAT is crazy expensive, however, as it uses a 300XXL engine, an endosteel chassis, and ferrofibrous armor to save as much weight as possible. It doesn't have any jump jets compared to the regular Conjurer, but still. You get 14 double heat sinks, which is less than your previous LCAT model, but it's more than most regular Conjurers. It is heavily armed with a pair of ER large lasers and a 2-ton fed LB-10X autocannon, which makes it a very nice threat against vehicles and things that are at close range. And you get a 6-tube SRM on top of it to be able to crit seek and cause some trouble for people at shorter range. The Conjurer is a mech that's built by just about everybody that has access to it and that has a tech base for it, and even Inner Sphere copies of it have been floating around recently, at least some versions loaded with Inner Sphere weapons rather than clan ones. Some designs are pretty expensive, but the base one is right where you want it to be to spend money on a 50-ton trooper mech that can also be used as a cavalry unit. Some of those LCATs that came out recently are way too expensive for what they're able to do. I would probably use the same chassis and reconfigure it over something that is a lot cheaper and a lot more efficient, but I don't have access to anything in regards to that design. The regular Conjurer is a great medium mech at a great price that works fairly well, that's really easy to work on except for those LCAT models. And it's a thing that you should always keep an eye out for when you're looking for new mechs for your unit. So I thank you very much for listening to me for so long. I'll see you guys later, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.